In Engineering Systems and Design, ESD, we focus on services and systems. When you think of an engineering system, think perhaps of a theme park or an airport. An airport is a great example of an engineering system because it is a system of systems. The air traffic controllers are an organization that provides navigation services. The airport provides the gates and other ancillary services. The baggage handling companies provide baggage services. Customs and Immigration is yet another organization that is integrated into the airport. All of these organizations operate to meet their own goals, but they also have to work together to provide a high volume of passengers with safe, reliable, economical, and hopefully pleasant air travel experience. What you will be doing and learning in the ESD pillar can be organized into 3 activities: design, analyze, and optimize.
The students get fascinated when they see a mathematically sound explanation for this phenomena, popularly referred as inspection paradox, and they see how this concept can be profoundly applied in improving the quality of service in large-scale systems like server farms or transportation systems, etc.
Students at ESD can take basically one of 5 focus tracks. I think these are very exciting. So let me just tell you what these tracks are. So the first is business analytics and operations research. The second is supply chain and logistics. The third is financial services. The fourth is urban infrastructure. And just this year, we have started something in aviation. The day and age we live in is what I call a data-driven world. Decisions these days are made primarily on data, not based on gut feel or intuition. So it is fair to say that the university, and specifically the pillar, trains students to be industry ready, to get to great jobs, high paid, but highly recognized, highly sought, with interesting challenges, in interesting positions, and future ready.
In the aviation focus track, we actually offer to the students the opportunity to learn and to understand better the complexities of an airport system. So specifically they will learn how to apply optimization, simulation, data analytics in order to make decisions in the airport environment.
The thing that I really enjoy about ESD is how it's had a profound impact on the way that I think and the way that I deal with problems. And what I mean by this is that prior to taking this course, I had a lot of issues with dealing with ambiguous problems. Somebody would say, hey, can you do this? And I would think, how do I even start? And I'd be paralyzed. But now it's quite simple. I know exactly what to do. I know how to decompose it into subsystems, see what goals I want, how to set those objectives, and how to chart a path effectively from here to achieving those goals.
I have 2 of the students working under Ops Solutions. The common feedback is they are very self-driven, full of initiative, very energetic to deliver. And they are the students that you can show them with problems, and without much guidance, they sort their way out, giving many creative ideas to look things in a different perspective, and thereby finishing the projects on time.
This is our first year working with the SUTD students under the DBA module, and I must say the experience has been nothing short of delightful. I'm pleasantly surprised by the resourcefulness, the professionalism, and not just the hard skills, but the soft skills of the students.
The number 1, they are innovative. Number 2, they always have take a very practical approach in solving the issue. Would you be keen to hire the ESD students? Yes, definitely, we will be happy to do so.
I would say that this project has been an incredibly fulfilling experience for us as well, because not only did we learn the technical skills to do with graph convolutional networks, right, we also picked up a unique set of skills that are very important for client-facing interaction.
Our team has learned a lot from the Data and Business Analytics course from ESD. So we have learned a lot of data analytics tools, for example, SQL, RStudio, and we also have learned financial analysis tools such as DuPont analysis. But most importantly, we were given the opportunity to work with real-life industries outside.
What we should be as students is to learn how to interact as a whole team, how to manage people, how to bring many fields together and be, well, from a sort of a managerial point of view, being able to connect and draw people together. So I think that's where our niche is at, and I think that's what ESD trains us to do as well. In addition to all the data analytics and optimization, it's also how to be a consultant, how to be a team leader.
This is what I really appreciate because it's also beyond what we learn in the coursework. We get to interact with corporates, we get to interact with executives in big companies, which also helps us to improve on our communication and negotiation skills, the soft skills that are required very much in the 21st century.
Welcome to Open House 2021 at the Singapore University of Technology and Design. We are Engineering Systems and Design, ESD, and we have a program lined up for you to experience and understand what ESD really stands for. It's always difficult to explain everything that's captured within our pillar, so we've brought recent graduates and alumni of our program here together with their employers, so you get a chance to see the careers that emanate, that come out from ESD. We will have a panel discussion, and then we will open it up for a question and answer period. So please start preparing your questions for us as well. So I'm delighted on this Sunday afternoon to have two representatives from Accenture, the consulting, join us here, as well as two representatives from Surbana Jurong. We wish you could be here physically, but in the modern world, we're having to do things virtually. But I assure you, we have a beautiful campus with wonderful facilities, friendly staff, and a wonderful place to hang out. So let me introduce our panelists today. I'll start at my far right. We have Lai Jihao, who was a graduate from, I think, 2019. And Jihao, if you would explain what it is you do now at a high level. You have to be confidential with your clients, but at a high level, what sort of work do you do now with Accenture?
Yep. Thank you, Prof. Jackson. First of all, a very good afternoon to everyone. I'm happy to be back here at SUTD, representing the ESD pillar as well as Accenture. So I think this is a great honor, right, to share about my experience with both SUTD and Accenture. So currently, my role in Accenture is more of a consulting analyst. So on a very high level, what I do is really to create business value for the client. And how I'm achieving this is through applying what I've learned in ESD. So some of these can be through analytics use cases. So we identify some use cases that the client want to do, be it through automating certain processes or put in some descriptive, prescriptive, or even predictive capabilities to improve their and enhance their current processes. So through what I've learned at ESD and also under the guidance of the mentors at Accenture, this is how we create value and basically enhance and create greater business value for our clients. Yeah, thank you, Prof. Jackson.
Great, thank you very much. And your manager is here today, Jonathan Jayanthakumar. He is a senior manager in charge of digital applied intelligence. Jonathan, thank you for giving up a Sunday afternoon to be with us, and give us a sense who you are and what your business is like, please.
I just want to share my thanks to you, Professor Jackson, and SUTD for giving me this opportunity. So let me tell you a little bit about Accenture in case you haven't heard of us before. 500,000 employees across the world, 120 countries. We do all sorts of consulting, ranging from technology consulting to strategy sort of consulting. We work in the digital space, we work in manufacturing. If you can think of an industry and a space that we haven't been in and involved in, I'd be surprised. We've been around for quite some time. I myself am mostly focused on the digital sort of space. So if I were to translate that, it would be things like apps, websites, cloud, data, analytics, big data, artificial intelligence, things like that. So that's primarily been my involvement, working with clients to solve business problems, to create customer value and business value, like you said.
Great, thank you very much. And now from Urbana-Jurong, we have Mr. Fong Yu Yang, also a graduate from ESD. And if you could tell us a little bit about what you do at Urbana-Jurong, again, without revealing any confidential information.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. So I graduated from SUTD in 2019, and afterwards I joined Urbana-Jurong in the aviation division. So initially had a privilege to actually take part in the Terminal 5 design stage, and afterwards, as it due to COVID, it slows down. So now we're actually working on multiple smaller projects in Singapore, where I work as a aerodrome specialist support under my mentor, where we help clients determine what can be done within an aerodrome environment that is very unique and special case. We also have I have also had the privilege to help the division to pursue pursuits outside of Singapore overseas in regions like Philippines or Dubai, where we have multiple projects like master planning or designing an airfield or even designing the passenger terminal itself. So it's a very broad and unique experience in aviation in Urbana-Jurong. Yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you. And finally, we have Michael Portier, who is a Deputy Director for Aviation within Urbana-Jurong. I came to know Michael through the Aviation Studies Institute here at SUTD. I needed subject matter experts in the airport space, and I reached out to Michael, and we've had a great relationship since then. He even teaches one of our airport systems courses here so that our students get exposed to real industry experts in some of their senior electives. Michael, if you could say a few words to introduce yourself, please.
Thank you, Prof. Peter, and also on behalf of Urbana-Jurong, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to showcase ourselves. So Urbana-Jurong is one of the largest design and engineering companies. Specifically here in Singapore, we are the largest. We cover many disciplines like architectural, design and engineering, security, blast, consultancy, etc. But in the aviation department, what we focus on is master planning of airports with all these disciplines that I have mentioned. And yeah, as you can imagine, we are also involved in Changi T5, but also in other airport design and development projects in Asia and other continents.
Great, thank you. So I'll begin with a few questions to the managers and directors from industry, because one of the concerns of students choosing universities is to pick a career path that will lead to interesting jobs in the future. I believe that's certainly the case with ESD, Engineering Systems and Design. We have a curriculum that spans design science, data science, decision science, finance, and economics, and it wraps it all together in a design, analyze, optimize paradigm. So with this skill set, we think our graduates are well prepared to go into business and engineering environments and make a contribution. So I'm going to put that question to each of our senior managers here today to see if they would respond to the value of that skill set. I'd like to start with Jonathan from Accenture. So is this a valuable skill set that we're teaching?
I would wholeheartedly agree. I think it is. So in my time, I've had the privilege of seeing the fruits of this SUTD ESD course. I mean, a few people, including Jayath over here. And I do definitely see that for us, we are a company that spans many different industries. So theoretical knowledge on its own is good and helpful, but I think the value of this on-industry experience that these guys are getting is making them stand out, and for a company like ours that spans many industries, the broad experience and hands-on experience that they get is fantastic, and that's something that we find very valuable. Yeah, there are many other things, but I'm sure we can discuss.
Great. Thank you. Michael, from your perspective, is it valuable?
Definitely. And what you see is that in the beginning, when, of course, we have to share with them the specifics in aviation, things like the concept of operations and how it works with the involvement of human actors, aircraft, of course, and other systems involved. And once they have understood how everything works, then definitely they are very well able to analyze certain issues or problems that we face. And of course, that's how the work starts. Then they get certain tasks, and yeah, that's how it goes.
I'll do a follow-up question back to Jonathan again. Accenture is one of our top employers of our graduates. So could you identify some traits or mindsets or skills that you notice in our graduates that are particularly useful to you, and perhaps distinguish them?
Sure. So for me particularly, I think a core base, a good, strong technical foundation, I think is something that is really valuable. Not just because of the technology or the learning Python or how to do modeling in R or something like that, but I think it's the mindset of being able to problem solve. And this is something I see for SUTD graduates like Jihao and the others that I've worked with, that comes very naturally to them. I think the solving problems is our bread and butter. That's how we deliver value to clients. And it's something that is just very obvious, is something that's been taught and part of a culture, I suppose. It's an assumption I'm making, but it's something that I see with them.
Thank you. We work very hard at the culture here at SUTD, as I think our graduates can attest to as well. But back to Michael, give you a similar sort of question. Surbana Jurong has hired a number of our graduates as well. And the aviation industry is going through difficulties right now. So as you bring folks into that environment, have you found them to be adaptable, and how have they, and Yu Yang perhaps in particular, how have they thrived in this environment or struggled? Your choice.
Yeah. I think, of course, the business has been struggling, and I think that's everywhere for aviation. But what differentiates the SUTD graduates is that they have the ability to dive into the details where that is necessary, and we really appreciate that. So that helps us in analyzing all the issues and problems that we face. And secondly, if well, for now, because let's say the traditional business is struggling, we need to look beyond our borders and look at other opportunities that comes along. And that's where their mindset of thinking out of the box actually helps us in seeing new opportunities and also change our mindset, and not just do business as usual, but try to adapt to the new normal.
Thank you. So you mentioned thinking out of the box. So we, as a design university, that is one of the cultural mindsets that we do try to encourage here. And it can lead to some surprising results as well. I'm going to invite our graduates now to speak. And both Yu Yang and Jihao, when I do exit interviews with our graduates, as the seniors, as they're leaving SUTD, I ask them what was particularly valuable about your experience here and the curriculum that we put together. And uniformly, they say it was the projects. They do projects throughout the time that they're at SUTD. In the ESD pillar, we throw them into an industry project right in term 4, right when they enter the pillar. and they do projects every semester after that, culminating in a capstone project which spans multiple disciplines. So let's focus on your project experience at SUTD. And can you think back to a project that you worked on? They may be blurring in your mind now, but if any of those projects stand out in your mind, what was the problem that was given to you, and what's some takeaway you got from that experience? We'll start with Yu Yang, please.
Okay. So even though it's quite far back, but I actually quite remember this project very particularly because this is during the Term 4 project, Data and Business Analytics course. So we're just graduated from Freshmore and going to our pillar years as a second year, and we were thrown this project with an industry project. So it's a real problem in the real world. And at that point in time, I got no idea what I'm doing. And so this problem that we were given, so our client is an airline, and we were given a problem which is, are they promoting their staff effectively? And this is a problem that they've been dealing with, and we're giving this set of data, their performance, the years of service, and a bunch of other data that I cannot share or I've forgotten. Yeah. So we had this problem in our hands, second year of university, and we haven't done any data analytics before. So throughout the course, we were taught different skill sets, different analytical tools, different ways of looking at the problem itself. And as we go along the course, we managed to find a certain problem, picked up the problem from the data, and actually to propose a valuable solution to the client actually, because we managed to bring up the presentation to a vice president, because that's how much they value our input. And this key takeaway that I had is actually the skills that we learn in class are actually useful. Because throughout my education in Singapore, I was like, why am I learning this? And then with this industry project especially, where you can see how the skills you have been taught in school actually usable in real life and helping you solve a real problem that the adults are solving, makes you put it into perspective and actually help me see that the things that I'm learning are useful. Yeah, so that's my key takeaway, especially for ESD projects.
Yeah. I'll add to that I don't know other universities that do this, that put students into industry projects right at the beginning of their experience. And it's a stressful trial by fire, but what comes out are very resilient students that are self-learners because they go out and find what they need to solve a problem. So I'm a great believer in this new pedagogy from SUTD. Jihao, give you a chance, maybe at the other end of the spectrum, your capstone project.
Yeah, for myself, so what I really enjoyed or my greatest takeaway was the capstone project with SUTD. So this capstone project is an 8 months long project, which is sort of like the pinnacle of your career or your career at SUTD. So through this whole project, right, what we are really thrown to do is to engage with a client. So Accenture has very strong partnerships with different industry partners. So what this gives us is a flavor and an exposure of what are the real problems that needs to be solved in the world. And through this project, we are expected to deliver a whole project, so all the way from solutioning to developing and hosting that and productionizing that solution, so as to say. So to give a quick overview and a recap of what my project was about, it's related to my current industry. So I think some of you might know that in consulting, there's this misconception or this pre-notion that consultants spend a lot of time creating like PowerPoint slides. So what we were tasked to do is really to automate this process to save time, to basically let our consultants do high value work. And through this project, we really go through the end-to-end project life cycle. So we will go down to the office, the client's office, to do some user interview where we put into practice our design thinking knowledge to understand what are the pain points that they are trying to solve. And moving on, once we have identified and defined the scope, That's where we go into the more technical aspect, where we put into use the technical expertise we learn from ESD. So some of the skills that we use will be to use, for example, machine learning or AI to sort of automate this whole search process, and also to apply some intelligence to make the interface and the whole the interface, and also to improve the productivity of this whole content management system. And I think through automating the whole process, we do a few pilot runs with the client, and they were happy with what they saw. And ultimately, I think this proves that whatever we are trying to solve here at SUTD is directly transferable to what we are solving in the real world, similar to what Yu Yang has shared earlier. Yep.
Great, thank you. I have a pain point that could be automated, which is the creation of exams. If I could hire you back for that, it would be valuable. I'd like to ask one more question to our graduates, which is, as they think back to the curriculum and the skills that you picked up in the curriculum at ESD, but also the mindsets, if you could, if you found either a skill or a mindset to be particularly valuable in your current position, can you think back to that and relate what we had in the curriculum and culture here that proves to be valuable within your work experience?
Okay, so the first thing that came to my mind was actually the Capstone Projects again, because in this university we have, the capstone is not within your own major. We had all the pillars come together and we work on the project together. So for my capstone, we had this project, it's an architecture project, and we work with the architects in our school to come up with a redesign, it's the ROM building, the Registry of Marriage building. Yeah, so in this whole process of working on this project, we have to work with architects. And engineers and architects think very differently. And I actually learned how to approach, see how they look at the problem and see how we look at our problem. Because architects want everything to be aesthetic, beautiful. Engineers want it to be very functional. So if engineers design everything, the world will be very, very boring. Yeah. So from this experience with working with architects, I've brought it right into the work where we work on the Terminal 5 projects, where I actually have to work with the architects that are designing the airport. And then we have to come in and say, no, we cannot do this because we need something to work. And then this back and forth is a very valuable experience and need to learn on the job. And SUTD had this, gave me this soft skill, yeah, to actually communicate better and to learn how to think from other people's perspective, different professionals' perspectives. Yeah.
Jiahao, a similar question to you, either a skill or a mindset. A skill or a mindset that's been valuable for you?
Yeah, so earlier Jonathan shared about the culture that we are fostering here at SUTD, especially in ESD. So I'd like to share more about that. So I think this culture really forces us to step out of our comfort zone. So we are not just building our technical expertise here at SUTD, we are also interacting with industry partners. So this can happen quite often throughout our curriculum at SUTD. So even from the first year, we are already given some opportunities to work with external partners. And moving into ESD, right, I think this experience becomes more robust, and also it becomes more applicable in the real world. So similar to what Yu Yang has shared, right, in our Capstone project, it actually mirrors how we actually do things within Accenture itself. So if I were to share, right, usually when we are put onto a project, there's different implementation partners involved. So maybe Accenture is just facilitating one part of the delivery. Maybe we are doing the project management, trying to run these projects in an agile methodology. So this is a software development lifecycle kind of framework. But basically, we will work with different implementation partners such as Microsoft or SAP to deliver this platform to the client. And similar to what Yu Yang has shared, right, within our Capstone project itself, we are working with people from different backgrounds. So for myself, from ESD, I had to work with people who are from another pillar, which was the information science pillar. So they are more focused on the computer science aspect of things, but what they're strong at is really the software development. And coupled with our own expertise of being able to crunch and generate business insight from data, we are able to provide a whole end-to-end kind of solution. So I think what really stands out at SUTD is this whole mindset of collaborating and creating a bigger value that's greater than the sum of one. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So we'll go back to our industry partners now. And a question to them is, given that our audience today are people trying to decide which university to go to and which program to perhaps select within those universities, could we understand what is unique about SUTD? Why do you as employers come to SUTD? What do you find that's different with our graduates that's attractive to you? So let's start with Jonathan on that one, please.
Sure. So for sure, I think there are certain things that I see exemplified in the SUTD graduates that I've worked with. So I did mention before about this independence in problem solving. I talked about having a strong technical foundation. But another thing I do or have noticed is a good base in soft skills as well. I think when doing consulting, it's very key that delivering good work and then being able to work with people to know what the problem is. If you don't have the right problem, you're going to end up with the wrong solution as well. But to find out what the problem is, you need to have a strong basis in design, knowing how to do that, knowing how to work with people and collaborate, knowing how to run projects. And so those are certain things that I've seen just flowing out of these people that I've worked with. And it's a fantastic thing. It makes it a joy to work with people like that. Probably another thing I'll just mention as well is just initiative. So I think a really key thing for us, is we love people who learn how to learn. It's not always just the skill that you have, which is useful, but it's people who are able to be thrown into a problem which maybe they don't have a lot of background on, but they can learn and pick that up really quickly and then just start delivering fantastic value for the customers, for the business. And I mean, Jayath's example is a fantastic one. He's not a strongly certified agile professional, but he's able to join a project that he's a part of for a large multinational corporation, and is able to very quickly start operating as a scrum master in that project. And that's high value stuff, and that's the sort of skill sets that we really admire and look for.
Great. So if I can pick out a few of the words you said, adaptable, being able to articulate what the client's problem is, plus having the technical skills to deliver on solutions, and being able to work with a diversity of people. Okay. Michael, what attracts you to ESD graduates?
Okay, what we have noticed so far is that we have no doubt in their technical skills and also in, let's say, their analytics, data analytics capabilities. So that's all good. But what is more important is, I think, motivation, eagerness to learn, and having an open mind to, let's say, enter this, for them, of course, a new industry. And also flexibility, because let me just give you an example. When we do projects for overseas clients, we may have to do some work during public holidays, or, well, like a very recent example is we have clients in the Middle East, and they have a work week starting on Sunday, well, like for example today, and they end on a Thursday. And of course, if you have worked those 5 days, on Friday when you get all the emails from, let's say, Singapore or this region, you cannot ignore them. So it's also that flexibility. I'm not saying that you have to work 6 days a week, but there are some projects where you know, an additional extra mile is needed, and yeah, they are willing to do that and to provide that support where and when that is needed.
So, so the work ethic that you see
Yes.
in ESD students is valuable.
Yeah.
Great. Another question that often comes up with students coming into university, they're immediately focused on jobs and internships and so on. Anticipate we may get some questions along that line, whether you folks are open to internships. But I think what might be helpful to the audience is when you as a manager are interviewing someone, whether it's for an internship position or a full-time job, what are you looking for? Because Michael, you just said you assume the technical material is there, so you assume they've got the data analytics and optimization and all the other tools, but you're looking for something else in an interview, I assume. Maybe start with Michael.
Yeah, I think just what I mentioned just now, motivation and openness of mind and the flexibility. So that's what we like to see in the either candidates for internship or candidates for a full-time position. And you know, in aviation, we have all kinds of analysis that they can be deployed to. So for example, it could be like a solar glare analysis, which is of course also very important for pilots and traffic controllers and so on. But it could be something engineering focused, you know, like for example, radar reflectivity, or maybe if you look at security and blast requirements, especially for air traffic control facilities, all these facilities have to comply with security requirements. So it's that broad spectrum that we have within aviation that they could be deployed for. And for each and every single task they do, they need to have the proper mindset and the proper analytic capabilities to, you know, tackle all these problems.
Great, thank you. Jonathan, same question to you. Imagine you're giving an interview. What are you trying to tease out of the applicant?
Sure, so this is a very fitting question because I was on Friday just involved with interviewing a batch of people who are potential interns for Accenture. So I definitely look for a few key things. So I think both of you articulated very well. I think there's a core foundation in the technical part, right? I mean, I do want to make sure that that's true. I mean, if a person says that on their resume. But I think some of the things that I really look for is, I think if someone is memorizing answers and providing answers versus actually being able to think about a problem. So to provide a problem and then see if they're able to think about it. And I think demonstrating that ability to problem solve, you know, think about, okay, you have these parts, I see maybe actually doing something like this is the solution. That's a spark for me. You know, that's the sort of thing I look for. It's not getting the right answer, but I think it's the thought process of actually being able to problem solve. So that's one thing I really look for. And I think an attitude to be willing to learn. So some people will come and say, look, this is what I do. I do data science for financial institutions. That's what I specialized in. That's what my capstone was on. That's what I do. But if you're inflexible, if you're not able to adapt that to other industries or to learn new things, and take that elsewhere, that sort of inflexibility also is something that I resist against as well. So, yeah, it's the ability to kind of take what you know and then have that openness to learn more is that stuff that we look for as well. Yeah, so for sure, those who are interested, please reach out to our HR. We have internship opportunities and others that are available on our publicly available channels.
Great. This is helpful for me too because I try to, in my classes, prepare students for interviews. So I have a mini lecture on how to do a case study for a consulting company. So I'm priming the pump here with our graduates. Well, thank you very much for this question and answer session, or this panel discussion. We're going to move now into a question and answer period where we can respond to questions from the audience today. So there's a first question here, which is, how important is the design portion in ESD, and what are the chances of employment upon graduation as compared to other degrees like DAI? The design portion in ESD is integral to it. We have one of the core classes in ESD is called Engineering Systems Architecture, and that's basically our middle course on design within the Pillar program. All SUTD students get a design course in their first year. It's called the Design World, and so they're exposed to design processes right in the freshman year. As we mentioned, we throw students into these industry projects in term 4, so that suddenly they're having to work on projects and come up with solutions to problems that are posed to them from industry. But then in term 5, we're able to look back on that experience and think through what is the process by which you tackle design problems. And I think consulting problems fall within the scope of design problems because you're trying to reformulate the problem that the client gives you in the most robust way possible, and then you proceed through a series of steps that can take you to a solution. And there's an architecture, a structure to the solution that emerges from that. So design is central. You pick that up within both the freshman year. You get exposed to it again in the sophomore, junior year with the Engineering Systems Architecture course. There are all sorts of projects where you get to apply those principles, but then the Capstone project, again, is organized around design principles. Understand the client, understand the user, the stakeholders, do a proper problem formulation, and so on, moving through a formal solution process. So design is central to SUTD. It's part of our DNA, and it's central to ESD as well. Now, second part of the question is, what are the chances of employment upon graduation? Well, as compared to other degrees, whether you pick your degree, but certainly the chances are very high. You know, the percentages of students who are employed within 6 months of graduation is I think over 90%. I haven't got the number on the tip of my head. It's sometimes as high as 97% of our graduates are placed. So even in this past year, which was a very difficult year because of the pandemic, we have excellent placement with our graduates. And one of the fortunate things was I run the Aviation Studies Institute, so I was able to hire some ESD students into my institute, and they are fabulous to work with. So I'm now an employer that can speak glowingly about our graduates. I'm not prepared to compare it to other degrees. The DAI degree is a very new degree that has, there's a very specialized set of industries that have requested graduates with those special skills. And ESD is a more broadly based degree. As you've heard, our students go and solve problems in consulting and all sorts of industries. So they're broadly prepared for industry jobs, and their employment prospects are excellent. DAI has a very special niche focus, and there are a number of companies that are very interested in those graduates.
Do you mind if I just say something very
brief? Please, yeah, please.
In addition to that, just for the design portion, at least in our consulting experience, people don't come to us with a design and say, can you build this? They actually come with a problem. And in fact, they won't even sometimes know what the problem is. So design is so important for us. A core base in being able to do design thinking. You talked about user interviews, finding out what the problem is, and then being able to derive a design that is able to truly solve the customer problem. That's all DNA, bread and butter for us. So if the question is it important in the course, that's one thing. I can tell you it's super important for us in industry.
Oh, thank you very much. Maybe Michael, you could add to that.
Yeah, I would like to add that if you look at the word design, very often in our aviation industry, it is similar to, let's say, a multi-criteria optimization process. Because what you need to do is you have to solve a certain problem within the context of operational procedures, system limitations, but also whatever you come up with has to comply with the aviation regulations that apply in your situation and location. So, and in addition to that, of course, you need to comply with what your client wants, plus all the other stakeholders. Because if you look at aviation, anything that, let's say, an airport operator wants need to be consulted with the air traffic control service provider or even with airlines. So there's always a circle of stakeholders that play a role in how your design would eventually look like.
I'm glad you picked up on multi-criteria optimization. That is part of our curriculum, and in fact, it's part of the engineering systems architecture course. So that mindset of understanding that there are constraints on your problem that you have to obey, but then you still try to adjust the solution to maximize a balanced scorecard. Okay, thank you. Another question? How does ESD program differ from traditional engineering programs? And what's the closest field of engineering in terms of traditional programs? Well, it's very clearly related to industrial engineering and operations research and management science. I come from a background of operations research and statistics. That's been my career, supply chain management and so on, those types of topics. So if you're comparing ESD to a traditional program, you would look for programs that have titles like industrial or industrial and systems engineering. And if you're looking in business schools, you will look for programs like management science. So it's mathematics being applied to operational problems and business problems and decision problems more broadly. Now, how does it differ from traditional engineering programs? Well, I think one of the key differentiators is this concept of design, that we have a unique approach, I believe, within the world actually, to how to run this type of program. And it begins with engaging students in industry with real problems, and then following it up with the tools of design science. So I like to say we blend design science with decision science with data science. And then on top of that, we have the finance and economics, which are essential if you're pursuing a business career or business engineering or engineering management. Those are the tools you need. And I'm not sure if there's anything that maybe our graduates might pick up on. Do you have friends in other programs that are more traditional? I'm not sure. Okay.
I can have a go at this. But basically, I think in general, compared to other traditional engineering programs, I think we have re-emphasized this again and again throughout the talk. It's really our focus on the hands-on kind of approach, and really these real-world projects that we have an opportunity to participate in. So to work with industry partners to solve real-world business cases. This is really an invaluable experience that SUTD and ESD can give us. And if I look back, right, and think about it, actually I'm sort of like a mini consultant for ESD as well. So we put to use what we learned here in the course. And we are sort of like the ambassadors of SUTD and ESD to our industry partners, where we apply these different skills, be it in design thinking, be it in our technical expertise, to solve the problems that they have. So this really gives us an edge across as compared to other traditional engineering programs.
So,
Yu Yang?
as compared to others, ours is, well, the program is much broader. So, for example, the traditional engineering, so are really focused on a specific type of engineering, like electrical or mechanical. So, in our case, we can actually put ourselves in many different type of situations, and we can really adapt our skill sets to what is actually needed out in the industry. So, for employment-wise, I don't just look for example, I graduated with an operational research focus track. So I don't just look at what's over there. I can have ability to go to aviation. I can ability to go to supply chain management. So it's not, even though you may say that it's jack of all trades, but it's actually very useful, because if you are just master of one, once you are not needed, you are gone. Yeah, so that's what I feel about the ESD program.
Thank you. That we're at the end of our time session here. There is more with SUTD Open House. The program continues tomorrow. We actually have a workshop tomorrow with ESD. It's fully subscribed at this point, but if you have registered, please join us for that. And if you want to learn more about ESD, please come to our website and keep clicking around until you find something called ESD Games, and that will give you another taste for what happens within our pillar. So we'll wrap this up. I want to thank Michael and Yu Yang and Jonathan and Ji Hao for their service this afternoon. Thank you so much for coming back and supporting SUTD and ESD. So you only have to remember 3 letters, ESD. Thank you.